All right, welcome back. This is part 6 of our journey through Daniel Kahneman's masterpiece, Thinking Fast and Slow. Today, we're going to talk about what is basically a superpower for your everyday life, using simple statistics to see the world more clearly and make way better decisions. So, to get us started, I want to share this really fascinating puzzle. It comes straight from the Israeli Air Force, and it seems to fly in the face of a pretty common belief we have about what makes people perform better. Okay, so just picture this. You're an instructor watching a trainee pilot come in for a landing, and it's awful. I mean, just really clumsy. So you get on the radio, you let them have it, pointing out every single mistake, and what happens? Almost like clockwork, on the very next attempt, the landing is much better. But then you've got the opposite situation. A pilot absolutely nails it, a perfect textbook landing. You get on the radio and shower them with praise. Great job! And then, the next time they come around, it's a letdown. It's noticeably worse than the one before. So you can see why they thought this, right? From their perspective, the evidence seemed crystal clear. Yell at someone for a bad performance, it improves. Praise someone for a great one, it gets worse. Their conclusion felt totally logical. But here's the big question. Was their gut feeling actually right, or was something totally different happening behind the scenes? Well, it turns out what the instructors were seeing had nothing to do with praise or punishment. What they were actually witnessing was a fundamental statistical principle called regression to the mean. It sounds super academic, I know, but trust me, the idea itself is actually really simple. And this is the perfect way to understand it. Think about it like this. An exceptionally good or an exceptionally bad performance is never just about skill. There's always a little bit of random luck involved, a sudden gust of wind, or a moment of perfect calm. So an awful landing, that was probably bad skill plus a dose of bad luck. And a perfect landing, good skill plus some good luck. The next time around, that luck factor, whether it was good or bad, probably isn't going to be there, so the performance just drifts back. It regresses back to their average. You see, our brains are wired to be story machines. We desperately want to find a cause for every effect. The instructor saw a totally random statistical pattern, an extreme result being followed by a more normal one. And they invented a cause and effect story to make sense of it all. My punishment caused the improvement. This is a huge trap Kahneman calls the causal thinking illusion. So, this statistical blind spot is not just about pilots. It affects a massive range of our most important decisions, and that's what we're going to dig into next. And that brings us to one of the biggest biases Kahneman talks about in the whole book, base rate neglect. Basically, it's how our brains get totally hooked on a specific, juicy story, so much so that we completely ignore the most important number in the room, the actual statistical probability, or the base rate. Let's use a classic example. Here's a base rate for you. The data is super clear on this. The failure rate for new startup companies is around 90%. That is the cold, hard statistical reality. But then, you meet the founder. And they're so energetic, their pitch is amazing, their idea feels revolutionary, and your gut just screams, this is it. This is the one that's going to make it. That story, that charismatic person right in front of you, feels so much more powerful than that cold, boring 90% number. And so, we ignore the number. We neglect the base rate. And believe me, this isn't just about startups. This is a big deal. Think about a doctor who gets fixated on a patient's weird symptoms and misses the most likely diagnosis. Or a judge who's swayed by a defendant's story and ignores the real statistics on reoffending. It happens constantly, in fields where the stakes are incredibly high. So what do we do? If our gut feeling is so unreliable with numbers, what's the alternative? Well, the answer, based on tons and tons of research, might actually surprise you. It's a little unsettling for some people. Okay, so let's just put it side by side. You've got expert human intuition on one side, and simple statistical formulas on the other. Our intuition, as we've seen, runs on stories, it's all over the place, and it's super biased. Formulas, they're built on the numbers, the base rates, they do the same thing every single time, and they're designed specifically to avoid bias. So, which one do you think is better at predicting the future? Now, I know what you might be thinking. This feels so wrong, right? We want to believe in the wisdom of a seasoned expert. But the research, study after study, is just overwhelming. In so many different areas, a simple algorithm consistently outperforms a human expert. From predicting if a parolee will commit another crime to guessing the future price of a fancy bottle of wine, the simple formula often beats the expert's gut feeling. It's wild. So, the big takeaway here isn't that we should fire all the experts and let robots run everything. No, not at all. It's about knowing our own weaknesses so we can fight back. And there's a really simple but incredibly powerful mental tool we can all use to do just that.
And this is it. This is your big practical takeaway for today. A simple 3-step habit you can build. Step 1. Before you make a call, just pause. Take a breath. Step 2. Ask yourself the magic question. What is the base rate here? What usually happens in this kind of situation? And finally, step 3. Take that answer, that statistical reality, and use it to check your initial gut feeling. Adjust your intuition.
Seriously, that one little question, what is the base rate, is one of the most powerful thinking tools you can get from Kahneman's work. Whether you're thinking about a new career path, looking at a business proposal, or even just making a decision about your health, grounding yourself in what's likely to happen is your absolute best defense against a good story that might be totally wrong. Thanks so much for tuning in.